All right, we're back. Let's chat a little bit more about the remaining weekend matches for week 2 in NWSL. Let's talk a little bit about Racing Louisville. And oh no, my computer just froze. Am I still here?
Yeah, you're still here. We got
Oh
you.
my goodness, I got worried. I thought I thought for a second I was like vanished.
No,
We've
your picture didn't freeze, your voice didn't freeze. All is good. Wow, that was
Oh,
great.
okay. Well, let's keep moving on. We're going to chat about Racing Louisville versus Washington Spirit. This one kicking off at 3 p.m. Eastern on Paramount Plus. Racing Louisville playing the host in this one. Also their home opener for the regular season. So we're going to hopefully see some sights and sounds at Lynn Family Stadium in Louisville, Kentucky. We have one team that had a win in this game, and we've got another team that maybe wants to build off their week 1 performance. A 0-0 draw for Racing in their first match against Houston, and then Washington Spirit getting all 3 points against OL Reign. We've yet to pick a draw in our pick selections
Are
here,
you
Lisa.
reading my mind, Sandra?
I
Are
don't
you
know. Am I
reading
setting
my
you up?
mind?
It is
Yes,
opening day in baseball. So am I lobbing you a softie here? Who you
you
got in this
sure
one and
are.
why?
I am going with the draw between Racing Louisville and Washington Spirit because last week Washington Spirit went out against OL Reign and OL Reign struggles in scoring and finding the back of the net. And Washington had one shot of really one great opportunity coming from Trinity Rodman that found the back of the net. Going up against a Katie Lund, who had a outstanding opening day game for Racing Louisville in goal, proves that it is very difficult to score against a Racing Louisville team, and it's not going to come easy. And for a team like Washington Spirit that only had 4 shots on target in their last match, that's going to be not going to be enough to get past Katie Lund. I don't think so. They're going to have to do something a little bit more creative. So I'm going with a scoreless draw in this one as well. Not even a 1-1. I'm putting Chucky eggs across the board for this one because I think that the defensive battle is just going to be too great for Racing Louisville. I was really impressed with how they played against Houston last week. They ended with another 0-0 draw, so it's going to go back-to-back Chucky eggs for me for Racing Louisville, which is not the way Kim Bjorkegren wants to start the year. However, there's a lot of new pieces on this Racing Louisville side. We talked about it. They broke a record with players from 6 different continents in the starting lineup. That's a lot to gel, and that's a lot to put together. And we saw moments of it against Houston for Racing Louisville where they were able to come together. Their passing was in sync. They looked really dangerous. I think defensively, Racing Louisville was incredibly organized. They really got back behind the ball. They didn't let Houston counterattack. They tried to stay organized. Immediately as they lost the ball to the dash, Louisville just dropped straight back. And against Washington, that's going to be a very similar game plan for Kim Bjorkegren, because if you get Trinity Rodman or Ashley Hatch out with space in front of them, it's game over for you. So that's not going to happen. They're not going to let that happen. And because of that, I don't think it's going to be quite as end-to-end as it was against Houston, which maybe makes it a little less exciting, but it's going to be more of a chess match in that sense, where it's going to be a mind game of maybe slowly luring your opponent to sleep from either end and then looking to counterattack on the weak side. But I'm going with a scoreless draw in this one, Sandra. What
I'm
about you?
listen, I love that not only did you save your draw for this game, but you had a specific score line
Yeah.
in it, and it's 0-0. So you're telling me that Racing Louisville is going to go not 1 but 2
Mhm.
weeks without scoring a goal.
Yes, but their goal differential is still going to be good because they haven't. I'm going to say they haven't conceded one either.
I listen, I respect the energy. I also have this one slated for my draw of the weekend, but I've got it narrow and I've got it 1-1 because I desperately want to see a Racing Louisville go from Uchenna Canoe
Yeah, that would be
for
cool.
Racing Louisville. And again, we're looking at home openers for some other teams in week 2, those teams who were on the road. This is going to be one of those things for Racing. Hopefully they have a great turnout and the fans there make some noise for them and go ahead and provide a little bit of that X factor for the home side. And looking at Washington Spirits and their performance out of last week against OL Reign, it's different opposition, right? That they're going against this week. So it's the game plan might be a little bit different if you're Mark Parsons heading into Louisville on the road. Then maybe you would go up against a team that you're somewhat familiar with, right? Even though Parsons is the new head coach of the Spirit, going up against Laura Harvey and the Reign is not something that he is unfamiliar with. And the game plan that was presented, I don't think is going to be a similar one that you utilize against Racing Louisville. So I'm just sort of curious to see how the middle third of these two teams look like against each other. Again, making these picks ahead of these availability reports. How Jalen Howell was someone who was unavailable for Racing in their week 1 match. Will she be someone that they can slot in to the midfield in this match? For the Spirit, I don't know if there's going to be that sort of same, I don't want to say use the word energy because it was great energy that they had in their home opener. But I think sort of looking at sort of looking at the performances, not even just from the middle third there, but with with the Spirit and their own attackers, whether it's a Sanchez or a Rodman or even a Hatch at this point. I just don't know if they're gonna have as much time on the ball as maybe they did in that week 1 compared to some of the players that Racing is running with in 2023. So I just think that there are some things on each side of the ball that might cancel each other out a little bit. And sometimes when you have things
That's a good point.
that you'll cancel each other out, sometimes it leads to a draw. So I'm also going with a draw, but I would like us to have some goals in the draw. So we're both going draw with Racing Louisville and Washington Spirit. Let's move to Gotham FC versus OL Reign. This one kicking off at 7:30 p.m. also on Paramount Plus. New home opener for a team. Gotham, the hosts in this one. I don't know. This was another one of those games where I was like, is this going to be the draw? I'm not going to lie to you. There's a few of them still where I feel that way. But when I'm looking at
we're only in the second week.
only in the second week, there's still that energy, right? We're still talking about like teams figuring themselves out, not even each other, but like themselves. And when it comes to how they're playing together on the pitch, but excited for Gotham to play hosts in this one. They're coming off of a pretty big win, pretty awesome goal from Lynn Williams, where she only needed 1.5 arms, to score that game winner. Are we going to see more of that? Is that the type of game that Gotham is going to look at and build on in week 2?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, honestly, about Gotham and OL Reign. And I think yes, to answer it. We will see Gotham build upon their performance from week 1. We'll see the powers of Lynn Williams and Midge Purse coming together, combining up top. That was electric. I think we'll still see more of Lynn Williams despite the whole arm brace. I mean, if she played, 65 minutes with her arm in a brace, what's going to stop her from playing this week? I think that Gotham will build upon what they had last week. I think Abby Smith suffered a little bit in goal for Gotham, which is very surprising because Abby Smith is an incredible goalkeeper. Youth national team. She's got a lot of great experience. She played at Portland during that championship team. And I just don't think last week was representative of how we know Abby Smith to be able to play. I think she's going to be one that really comes back stronger than ever against this OL Reign side to prove herself. She earned the starting role on a team for the first time really in her career most recently, and she wants to hold on to that. So I think it's going to be incredibly hard to get one past Abby Smith on this game. But with OL Reign, they're a team that struggled against Washington. I mean, they didn't struggle with getting shots up, 16 shots for OL Reign, but they couldn't find the back of the net. And that's been a struggle for Laura Harvey's side. They get all these great chances. They've got incredible off-ball movement. They've got overloads in the wings, and they've got the technical skill, probably the best of anyone in the league. But their ability to finish and the final pass, the final shot, struggles a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's something that they have focused on this week in training, because a lot of the other pieces looked pretty good. I'm really curious how we will see Laura Harvey's side line up. Is Emily Sonnet going to be that defensive midfielder? I hope not. So
Same.
my prediction of this game is contingent upon how we see OL Reign line up. If Emily Sonnet's in the midfield and she tries to play that defensive six again, I think it's going to be really difficult for her to keep track of Gotham's front line, and Christy Mewis is just going to run over a Sonnet in that role. It's experience versus inexperience. Gotham's going to get the win. However, I don't think we're going to see Emily Sonnet in the midfield anymore. I think it was a trial, and I don't think we're going to see it that much anymore, or maybe there'll be a lot more structure to how Emily Sonnet plays in that defensive six. But I am going to go with a high-scoring game. I want a goal at least from either side, and I think I'm going to give this one to OL Reign.
Okay. I'm a little okay. I'm like high scoring. It's interesting to like put that on, attach that on there, considering the game that the Reign came off of. I mean, look, we're talking about it like it's brand new. Is that part of it? Like the Reign is one of those. They're one of the teams that retained a lot of their 2022 roster going into this new season, and maybe in that sense, it could be a little bit of recipe where it's like, oh, same team, same problems. Where it's like shot after shot after shot and like minimal like goal production. Like we'll see. It's still early.
I mean, I think OL Reign's going to get one.
Yes, I think this is the week that it happens. I just
get a goal. Yeah.
I just look, Gotham got the win last week and they have all 3 points, and that's that. Whether people want to go back and forth about how it happened and the introduction of VAR into the league and how they got those 3 points, etc. Like that's what it's for. All that is for the fan discourse, so people can go back and forth about that all they want. But something that I don't think is up for debate is how different that backline looked for them in that week one. I think there's still some question marks for Gotham in their defensive shape going into their week 2 match. We're again doing this early, don't have the availability reports, unclear on Krieger's availability and how that team is going to look in terms of their defensive shape in their home opener. I'm with Abby Smith in that I think in the game against Angel City was a player who kind of grew into the game. Yes, Alyssa Thompson got that ridiculous goal to start things off. Yes, she was chipped by June Endo on a disallowed goal. But that was still something that happened. And those are all things I think that you are looking at from that week one. But I think after the 20 minutes, you saw Abby Smith sort of settle in and become that shot stopper. And Abby Smith, for people who don't remember, was with the now folded and defunct Boston Breakers. And that was a team that also gave up a lot of goals. And I just sort of look at Abby Smith as someone who, when she gets put into a game where she's sort of forced to become that shot stopper, where she knows the shots are just going to come at her, is a little bit stronger in a game like that. So I think when you're going up against OL Reign, you know that that's an automatic, that you are going to see shots. You're going to face those multiple shots, over the course of 90 minutes. So I do think that maybe going in with that knowledge ahead of time is helpful. But
and as you talked about, Ali Krieger, she went out in the opening with 10 minutes, I think, of Gotham's match. And whether she starts, she plays, or she doesn't play, we're not going to see rotation in the back line in the first 10 minutes, which I think adds to a little bit of stability, not only for Gotham defense, but for Abby Smith in goal as well. I mean, that had to be a little bit of a shakeup. Your captain and your organizer and your vocal leader goes out of the game, and now everything changes. The dynamics change.
No, on the Reign side of this as well, I think referring to Sonnet in the midfield, was it partially out of need? Was it partially out of trial? Was it a mixture of both? Either way, didn't look great. thought Sandra looked flustered at times, played into pressure at moments, and that's not kind of something that you want out of your six. So we'll see if that's something that continues in week 2. But I think in terms of picking a winner in this one, again, this was a match where I was like, I'm going back and forth, but I'm gonna go with the Reign in this one as well. I think that this is the game where they get the goal in the back of the net, and it's gonna happen against a questionable, I think, Gotham defense, or at least a defense that is still trying to work on that cohesion themselves. So I think if Kristen Edmonds is good to go, even without an Ali Krieger, that back line will still have a player there that can sort of cover some things if they get snuck in behind. But I think the Reign have too many good pieces to have another week where they don't get a goal in the back of the net. So we're both going Reign in this one. We got one final pick to make: San Diego Wave versus North Carolina Courage. This one closing things out on Saturday evening, a 10 p.m. Eastern start on Paramount Plus. Two teams, each getting an opening week win. We've got a second consecutive game at home for San Diego Wave. North Carolina, their first time on the road. Who do you got in this one?
I have San Diego taking the win. I'm not burying the lead at this point.
Yeah.
San Diego being at home, second week in a row. They packed Snapdragon last weekend. I think it's going to be a very similar crowd turnout. I just don't foresee Casey Stoney and San Diego getting a loss at this point in the season. The way that they played last week against a Chicago side, it was a little bit of a call response for San Diego. They let up a goal, they score one, they score another, they let up a goal, and then they draw a penalty kick to close out this game in the waning minutes of regulation. This is a San Diego side that looks very complete, despite having a lot of young players. I mean, we saw Jaden Shaw get a goal in last week. I think that they have a lot of flexibility, San Diego, with how they play and how they match up against their opponents, using that flexibility of various formations to capitalize on the weaker parts of their opposition. That's Casey Stoney being a mastermind and understanding the game tactically and making sure her players know that whatever position they're playing in, whatever formation they have, their roles shift a little bit. And that's what's really impressive to watch from San Diego. For North Carolina, this is a team that, yes, got 3 points last week and they did get a win. But that win over Kansas City for North Carolina was a little bit unassuming. I mean, the goal coming for North Carolina really just caught Kansas City off guard. And it was a shot from distance from the Danish international. And because of that, I don't think it's going to be as easy for them to get one past San Diego's defense. I really think that being on the road is going to be a struggle for North Carolina as well, having to travel across the country and play in Snapdragon, an environment in which San Diego really thrives when they're there. So because of this and Alex Morgan, I think she's going to get one in the run of play, not a penalty kick this week. I think San Diego is going to take the win and pick up back-to-back weeks with all 3 points.
You're not going to get much different from me in this one, and I'm not trying to treat it as if this is like a sure bet or a near lock, right? We're not a betting show. we're just a A3 and we are making our picks. But I think San Diego Wave, despite conceding first against Chicago, maybe that was a bit of the week 1 kind of combination of that, the week 1 jitter, perhaps, and the combination of Chicago just like being a team that is like, you just got to put your foot through it sometimes, and it happens. And I just think it's going to go a little bit differently against a North Carolina Courage side that, again, is one of those teams with a lot of new faces, right? We've been talking about that with certain players across certain teams. And I'm with you in that opening lone game-winning goal from Gayol, and it really did just it just came out of a moment of smart heads up play from a player like that, where there was maybe some A little bit of frantic feeling on both sides, just kind of going back and forth a little bit. But nothing was really clicking, even though North Carolina was off on the front foot first for that game, for much of that opening week one match, but weren't really getting the goals in the back of the net despite getting into, dangerous places. So maybe that is a little bit different for them on the road against the San Diego team that already has also picked up 3 points against, within an environment that's likely to be not so similar to the one, or not so friendly to the one that they had in their opening week. So it's going to be a little bit different for a lot of these young players on the Courage, playing in front of possibly 20 plus versus 4,000 at home. So
Yeah.
um I'm looking for some adjustments and some improvements for both of these teams out of their week one performances, because even though they got wins, there was still a lot there that they wanted to work on. I'm sure San Diego was like, why, how in the hell did we concede first? And I'm sure North Carolina is like, we kind of kept the 2022 runners up on the ropes, and yet we really couldn't put them away. That second goal, that insurance goal, was just sort of something they were never able to make sure they got in the back of the net. And I think if you're San Diego and you're thinking about the defensive organization that you're going to present to North Carolina Courage, again, the footage is out. We saw that they were just running up that right side. Kerolin was pretty much the player to go ahead and try to be that facilitator. And I think that there's enough there for Casey Stoney and San Diego Wave to say, this is what we got to work on. And if we execute it, we're going to come out with the win. And that's why I'm going with them as well. So don't worry, everybody. We got our picks written down. Lisa's the notebook is back. It's there. We're gonna be back with the recap and see what we got right, what we got wrong. We love to do that. Make sure you tune in to week 2 action on Paramount Plus and CBS for NWSL regular season.